Once again, it'll be a packed house here at Camp Randall. Wisconsin at home. A tough one, taking on BYU. Hi again, everyone. I'm Bob Wischusen here with Brock Hewitt. Allison Williams will join us in just a moment. We're right where we normally are at this time of the year with the Badgers. Ranked high on the polls. They can run the football. Great offensive line. You wonder at the end of the season, will we be in the same place we normally are with the Badgers? Or is this the year that this team is good enough to get over the top and maybe be in the playoff?
Yeah, Bob, I think this offense is good enough. I think this will be the best offense Coach Christ has had here in 4 years. In 4 years, by the way, he's posted a 36-7 record. But Wisconsin's one of these programs, unfortunately, where the country looks at everything they're not instead of celebrating what they are. And what they are is the best run team, the best offensive line in college football. And I know that we will be celebrating that over the next 60 minutes.
They have a terrific offensive line, and they have arguably the best tailback in America in Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor is truly unique. He came on the scene as a freshman nearly a 2,000-yard season ago, and I think what's so special is his acceleration. He gets up and goes as fast as anybody. You know, his 10-yard time, 1.44, faster than Saquon Barkley. He does it at 220 pounds. It's why he's turned in so many yards. It's why he's the country's best rusher, and why I think he will be featured over the course of this game against the BYU team that knows they've got to stop him first if they've got any chance to come into this place and win.
You mentioned special. This is one of those pinch yourself spots in college football. We never take for granted how special it is to be at Camp Randall on a college football Saturday. Well, excited, Brock, to watch Jonathan Taylor play today. It's hard to poke holes in a legit Heisman candidate. He does have an Achilles heel, though, sometimes holding the football.
Taking care of that ball. It's priority here at Wisconsin as much as any program in America because they shorten the game. They minimize possessions. Yeah, back-to-back weeks now, Jonathan has turned it over, and it's been some fundamental issues. That ball has just simply been too low. And he gets into traffic, and when you've got fumbling issues, and you've fumbled 8 times in 16 games, every opponent you play knows it. And if you expose that ball and you keep it low, you're going to get it ripped at, and another team's going to try to take it away. So, Allison, what has Wisconsin done this week to try to rectify that situation?
Well, Brock, running back coach John Settle brought in some new ball security drills. The first drill, it's called elephant drill, and it's done to address that fumble you just saw from last week. Basically, as the back is going to the ground and that left arm extends to brace, you have to make sure that the ball always stays above the waist. So even as the running back is going down, the ball has to stay up. The other thing is called lock up. Basically, when the ball is in your hand and you get into traffic, you've got to lock up that other wrist. They rep that a lot. Of course, emphasizing the points of contact and pressure when carrying a ball, the palm of your hand, the forearm, bicep, and chin. A lot of high and tight messages throughout the week. The other thing they did with Taylor, they gave him one of those hand grippers. Remember those guys that you would squeeze to strengthen your grip? They gave him one of those to help improve his hand strength and grip on the football. Brock, Bob.
I still use that for my handshakes. If you've ever wondered, Bob, why my handshake is still so strong.
All right.
Maybe not.
Not sure if I've ever been less comfortable to start off a broadcast. Well, the job of bringing down Jonathan Taylor is going to be on this BYU defense, and a position change that has been impactful. They took Sione Takitaki, who had been a defensive end, backed him up to will linebacker, and they think he's been a different player ever since they made that move.
Well, it was this game a year ago, frankly, that was embarrassing to BYU. That really they looked at and said, if we're going to compete at this level and play this kind of schedule, and Kalani Sitake knows that, we have got to get more physical. So they made a bunch of changes to their personnel. They changed their scheme. You're going to see one of the more physical games that and Sitake wants to know where his team measures up. You know, they really want to emulate in many ways what Wisconsin has here. Think they can recruit tight ends, think they can recruit offensive linemen. But they're certainly going to evaluate after this one how they measure up. And it's got to be better than it was a year ago in Provo.
BYU won the toss and deferred. So they'll start the third quarter with the football, which means the Badgers will start their opening possession at home. Andrew Mickelson has it teed up. And we are underway in Madison. The freshman, Cruikshank, just inside the 10. Aaron Cruikshank Gets a block, gets to the edge, gets hit hard, and he's out to the 31-yard line. And we get our opportunity to start off with arguably the best offensive line in America.
Tremendous continuity. They run block well, but I love the pass protection here. This was against an aggressive group in the opening week, and look at the kind of space in air Hornibrook has to throw the ball, and you won't find better communicators. You know I'm going to say power an awful lot today. You block down, you pull guards around, and fullbacks. Look at this. 1, right at the line of scrimmage. 2 yards down the field on the linebacker, and the eyes up in the awareness to set the whole thing in motion and score touchdowns to finish 15 yards down the field. That's what the Badgers do.
Hornibrook to throw on first down. Well protected by that offensive line. Gets one to midfield, just about an interception, and probably should have been caught by Danny Davis, who's back in the lineup. Well, you figure protection is not going to be a big issue when you've got 3 preseason AP All-Americans, the experience wall-to-wall on that offensive line. So impressive. And hey, look, the last 10 years, 14 Wisconsin offensive linemen have been All-Americans. So this is basically an NFL training camp for 3 or 4 years if you want to go pro as an offensive lineman. Here's Jonathan Taylor. Tripped up. It'll be 3rd down and long.
Here's a look at Hornibrook now in a situation he's not found himself an awful lot this season. 3rd and extra long. He's been dynamite, 22-3 as a starter. Blew up really in the Orange Bowl. Played his very best game as a Badger in that game. Put the game on his shoulders. And oh, by the way, last year in this matchup, how about 18 of 19, 250 and 4 touchdowns. He's already got as many incompletions in the first minute as he had the entire 60 minutes in Utah in Pro Bowl last year.
Down and distance, Wisconsin doesn't see often. 3rd down and long. And pressure on Hornibrook, and a tipped ball. What a start for BYU as they get the 3 and out, and they will get the football early.
I was just bragging about how they pick up line stunts. That's almost the same stunt that you just saw on that tape, and it comes right in the face of Hornibrook, and that's rare to see left guard, left tackle not communicate. It's going to come, and it's going to hit Hornibrook, and BYU not known for their getting after the quarterback. Just 1 sack, just 1 QB hurry first 2 weeks of the season. That's well done by BYU defensively.
Anthony Lottie, that is an NFL-looking punt to Michael Shelton, and he's going to let it drop, and it will take the perfect hop for Wisconsin. BYU jumps on top of it. It may have been touched by a Badger. It will be 1st and 10 at the 5-yard line after a 63-yard punt. And now we get a look at Tanner Mangum, who certainly has experience on his side. First freshman to ever throw for over 3,000 years. A sensational year back in 2015, but then tough times. Lost the job in 2016. Mid-season ruptures his Achilles last year. He's 25 years old. As many BYU players are, they will serve a Mormon mission at some point during their collegiate career. So at a 25-year-old clip, he didn't seem to be bothered at all when we talked to him yesterday about the atmosphere he knew he would face today at Camp Randall. Jet sweep. Hefo gets to the sideline. Aleva Hefo is able to move the chains.
And get ready for lots of that, attacking the edges today. And for Tanner, 3rd offensive coordinator in his time. You see the record there. And a year ago, there just weren't answers in this offense. They were so stagnant. Right? They just tried to line up, play a lot of pro-style concepts, and just had very, very little success. And a bunch of it fell on his shoulders. Not the case this year. More tempo, more movement, a lot more options within this offense.
Again, the jet sweep action to Hefo. And a pretty good pickup on 1st down of 7.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want to do if you're BYU. And this is an inexperienced front 7 for Wisconsin. Got new people, got new edge defenders, got some new safeties. Only 4 starters return from one of the most elite defenses in college football, and you're doing this. You're running outside to try to change those eyes, force the eye discipline of that defense so you can continue to run outside, inside. A wonderful start here, beginning this drive at their own 5.
That's Scott Nelson, the free safety, number 9, coming up into the tackle box. A redshirt freshman. Pressure on Mangum, and down he goes. Olive Songapolu was able to get the sack.
Yeah, and it's the edge pressure there by Zach Bond. You're going to see it. He's going to delay there. He fools the offensive line right there like he's dropping in coverage. He forces Mangum up, and there's Sangapolu. He's one of the rare veterans. They like Bond. They think he's got some twitchiness and quickness, and they love Sangapolu right in the middle. He is the difference maker at 350 pounds and showing he's not just a run stuffer.
He's a cheerleader. They can still do a backflip and a split. 3rd down and 8. Another end around, and this one's going nowhere. Dax Milne. That was read by Scott Nelson. He jumped it, snuffed it out. Another 5-yard loss, and it will be a punt for BYU.
Oh, he's one of those young players that's really rising. They love him. His buddy next to him, Dakota Dixon, they are the closest of teammates. Redshirted a year ago, watched how this defense was run, and he's not buying any of that interior run. He knows his assignment. Such an assignment-sound defense. It's what Wisconsin has been year after year after year. And Nelson, the young one, showing he's got the same kind of discipline.
Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, Nebraska, Penn State, among others, all wanted Nelson, but he opted to come to Madison. That's a wobbly punt. That's going to take a pretty good BYU roll. Rhett Almond, who last year was the place kicker, takes over as the punter this year for the Cougars and manages an ugly 47 yards. Good field position for Wisconsin when we come back. Now it's Garrett Groshek to the left of Hornibrook in the shotgun on 3rd and down. Hornibrook on time to the sideline. Jake Ferguson breaks a tackle, drags tacklers all the way down to the BYU 28-yard line, picking up 28.
Wisconsin's really good on 3rd down. They have been the last couple years. 59% coming into today, and this is the one-on-one they always love to create. On your left-hand side, that out route, and that's on Zane Anderson. That's a converted safety. They moved to linebacker just for that play, just for those kind of plays in space. Zane was a guy that was very adept at safety. Right there you see young Ferguson, Barry Alvarez's grandson, showing what he could do as a wide receiver.
Taylor hammers his way into the red zone.
There's those Fred Flintstone legs, man. He just churned. We were watching that as a group yesterday. You could just distinguish running backs so easily. Those that once contact comes, just slow down. Right, they go down, and then those that just churn and churn and churn and finish, and always seemingly falling forward.
Taylor tries to show speed to the edge and does. A 1st down to the 10-yard line, where it will be 1st and goal Badgers. Taki made the tackle, not after Taylor picked up 10.
And a little help there from Peniston, the tight end. Biadish, the center right there. He's one of the rare guys that wasn't a preseason All-American because he's surrounded by all of them. But it takes those edge blockers, too. If you're going to be a dynamite offensive line, it can't just be the 5 big boys. You throw in 2 tight ends, a fullback and Ingold that love to block. It makes it such a potent run game.
Wisconsin, more bully ball. Down to the 6-yard line goes Taylor, and it is that burst that he shows from the time he gets the football to where he gets, say, in 10 yards, that is just off the charts numbers-wise when NFL people look at the future of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley last year, and Tom Coughlin at the NFL Combine sits at 10 yards every single season for a reason. He wants to know that 10-yard split. And Saquon last year, 1.54 in those 10 yards. This kid, in their measurements here at Wisconsin, 1.44. And unlike it just showing up on a piece of paper, it shows up on Saturdays and on the game tape every week, more importantly.
Cutback lane. Down to the 2-yard line. Taiwan Deal makes it 3rd down and goal.
Big-time tackle by Zane Anderson as well. If he doesn't get him, you're walking right into the end zone. It was a 3rd down out route on 3rd and 7 that beat Zane in that one-on-one, but he comes right back, digs deep, a big-time tackle, and if BYU's got a chance this afternoon, you've got to hold the Badgers to field goals down here.
And it is Deal that stays in the game, looking for his 1st touchdown of the season, if he can get it. Jonathan Taylor tied for the lead in FBS with 5 rushing touchdowns. He's on the sideline. It is Deal into the end zone. A Wisconsin touchdown. didn't play football, organized football, until he was in 8th grade, and eventually became the Maryland Gatorade Player of the Year. He's got his first rushing touchdown of the season, and it's 7-0 Wisconsin. Very impressive drive by the Badgers. The Bucky Wagon, 1932 Depression-era fire truck, debuted at Camp Randall in September of 1971, about a month before I was born. And it's in better shape than me. They've got it back in action. It was used until the mid-2000s, until it was no longer reliable, but reintegrated into the Spirit Squad entry. Camp Randall is part of the 100th anniversary of this stadium last year.
Kind of fits the personality of that O-line, doesn't it? Just old school, rugged, and yet just awesome. And the NFL loves what Wisconsin does year after year, and they love a bunch of guys in this group that will be playing on Sundays.
Zach Hintz puts this one through the back of the end zone. Play action. Mangum on a rollout. Checks it down to Hifo. Gain of 4. Actually 3. They mark him down at the 28.
Small ball. It's a little bit of what BYU is going to have to do against this group, and that's a bad sign. That's Van Ginkel. That's the most dynamic Badger, I think, in space and pass rusher as he comes to the sideline. BYU the first couple weeks not had that big explosive play. They've got to do it. Single. Move the chains. Keep the ball moving. Not a lot of home run threats in this lineup, so they got to be efficient.
Squally Canada finds a crease into the secondary. An extra gear for Squally Canada. All the way down inside the 30-yard line of Wisconsin. Fayon Hicks saved a touchdown. Squally picks up 43.
So
and he gets up with a little hitch in his giddy up as well.
As I was saying, they've lacked the explosive play coming into the first 2 games. There's a receiver with a 13-yard rush. Squally's longest just 9 yards the first 2 weeks, beautifully blocked. And then in one-on-one situations, you have got to beat that safety. Just enough of Edwards, the middle linebacker, and that's the one-on-one. And it was actually Caesar Williams, the corner, because of alignment. And Squally's mom liking, Stacy liking what she's seeing.
Had a chance to visit with her last night, and she is a terrific lady. Tanner Mangum on a rollout. Zips one to the sideline. Coming back to help out his quarterback is Gunnar Romney. That's close to a first down, and without measurement, the officials say BYU first down.
But we saw BYU, Bob, opening week last year. You didn't see any of this. Right? We didn't see any fly sweep. We saw very little movement. You're going to see a ton of screens today. I love the screen package the new offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes brings to the equation as well. But when you've got a group that is as old and mature as many of these pieces are at BYU, play to that strength. Have a deep volume, a playbook with a 25-year-old quarterback that's capable of handling it all.
Looking for some room inside the 10 goes Riley Burt. Down inside the 5-yard line. That's another first down. First and goal for BYU.
Pretty good mix, man. Pretty good mix of run and pass. That rush outside. Burt getting his first carry of this season was not a factor the first 2 weeks of the year. You'll see on a hot day, 2, 3, 4 running backs for BYU, and this is exposing a little bit of the youth and inexperience of this Wisconsin defense.
And Squally Canada able to get back on the field for first and goal. Hifo to about the 3.
This gets tough down here. You see teams try to utilize this because they feel there's numbers actual advantage. But I always feel like when you run into the short side of the field, while you may like the numbers, you hate the yardage. You just run out of any real estate to do damage.
Squally Canada up the middle, moving the pile at the goal line. That is a BYU touchdown. So the Cougars answer right back. And they're a point after away from a tie.
can read those lips of Squally. Squally, she's loving it. And how about BYU says, yeah, you got a dominant O-line on the other side. We're not bad either. And the addition of Tristan Hodge, the right guard, he's their best player. Played at Notre Dame as a young player, transferred here, sat out last year. He's been a big influence right in the middle of that line of scrimmage. Does enough. Get his body on Sangapale, and enough movement there for Squally to find 6.
Squally Canada. His 4th rushing touchdown of the season. We are deadlocked at 7. And his mom, Stacy, who has 3 biological children, but is still in the midst of raising the last of the 16 children that she has had come through her home. And she is as proud of Squally as any of them. Bob Shoes and Brock Ewart, Allison Williams back at Camp Randall, where BYU has answered with a terrific touchdown drive right after the Wisconsin offense went down the field. We are deadlocked at 7. A BYU offense that last year was 118th in America in total offense and 123rd in scoring offense. Brookshank barely gets across the 20-yard line. Jonathan Taylor, first down. And another crease behind 4 offensive linemen that all start off the year on the Outland watch list.
And what makes him so difficult is you'll see, Jonathan, in that acceleration and explosion come right at you, is it's not just power. They'll run zone concept. That is just an ISO play there. That's isolating a fullback on the linebacker, a 2-back run. They will throw the whole arsenal at you in their playbook as well. And they really search you out early to find your weakness to exploit it later as well.
Taylor again. Lost his footing. Still picked up 6.
I was just counting during their last game the number of bodies left on the ground. I know that sounds a little gruesome and gory. I apologize for the audience out there, but that's what you do when you watch a lot of tape. And they had just as many runs last week against New Mexico with 2 guys left on the ground as they did 0. I mean, on every single play, just about, you will find a defender on the other side, not just in the tackle, but in the blocking aspect on his back.
Hornibrook with a swing pass. Incomplete, intended for Taylor, so it brings up 3rd down and 4. But when you watch this offensive line, and over the years we've watched so many others come through Wisconsin, go to the NFL, playing offensive line here. Is it the talent they recruit? Is it the culture and how they're taught when they're here? What is it that makes this a factory for not just offensive linemen, but Pro Bowl offensive linemen in the NFL?
I think it is just the pride. I was sitting in their O-line room yesterday. You look at the All-Americans that went before you, right? It is just that heritage and tradition of decades and decades that you get to fall in line with.
They pick up the stunt this time, and Hornibrook has all day. Right at the 1st down marker, but running his route just a little too shallow was Danny Davis, and now it's 4th and 1. When you have the best offensive line in America, you might think about at some point going for it, but too early in the game for Paul Christ. He sends out Anthony Lottie.
Yeah, I don't think with this defense and inexperience you make any of that decision, and Paul's not a gambler anyway. Wonderful tackle there by BYU defensively, flying around, and give them credit. They may be getting beaten right at the surge at the line of scrimmage, but those moves to put a little bit more speed on the field at the 2nd and 3rd level, paying off here with a couple drives.
Fair catch for Michael Shelton at his own 11-yard line.
Guys, we saw Stacy Canada here, Squally's mom, watching him in person. She hasn't been able to come to many of his games, and for good reason, as she has helped to raise 16 kids. While she has just 3 of her own, she takes in children all the time that are in unfortunate situations whose parents can't raise them. She said, I just can't say no, but this year, his senior year, she is making a point to travel to all of his games.
An amazing woman, and we talked to her about Squally yesterday. Just beaming with pride as Mangum will dump it down. Lopini Katoa is brought down in the open field. Zach Bone makes the tackle. That's a loss of a couple.
That's a good play, though, by Tanner. He had a sack on that opening drive. It was actually Bond that faked into coverage and showed his twitchiness and got home and impacted the pocket. I think for Tanner today, you walk this line in this building of just wanting to make that big play, yet knowing you just can't take the negatives. I know that one went backwards, but in his mind, with that clock and this kind of pass rush, there's no throwing the ball away. It could be a win on the road.
Another tackle broken. Lu'ulu Patutau is able to pick up about 2 and get back to the original line of scrimmage, so it's 3rd and 10. That should take us to the end of the first quarter. And it will. The game we expected. Physical, low scoring, and deadlocked at 7 after 1 quarter of play here at Wisconsin.
In Panama, small town spring break, every weekend around this place.
Welcome back to college football, presented by Walmart. And welcome back to a steamy day here in Madison. Bob Wischusen alongside Brock Ewart. Allison Williams is down on the field. She's really the one sweating it out, as are these players. 120 degrees. The reading down on the field as BYU back to work to open up the second quarter. 3rd down and 10.
Could be a good screen down in distance.
Mangum well protected. Floats one to the sideline. Coming free. Wide open is Talon Shumway. He's got a first down.
Well, how about the protection right there to run a post corner? This is a nice route by Talon. He sets up that in-breaking route and puts his foot in the ground and leaves enough room to the sidelines there for Mangum. And that's what Mangum does best. Asking Jeff Grimes, asking Tanner yesterday what those guys are most comfortable calling, what Tanner likes to throw. It's that intermediate route. It's gone away largely in college football. We see so much underneath. We see shots down the field. We don't see those corners and in cuts, that intermediate game that Tanner's most comfortable throwing.
Mangum out of the pocket. Across his body and through the hands of his intended receiver, Dax Milne, the true freshman.
And Caesar Williams does just enough of the distraction drill right there. Receivers work on that drill, right? The distraction right in front of their face. He may have even got his hand on that ball to tip it just away from Milne. He does. I like that aggressiveness on first down, though. Mangum could have run for 3 or 4 yards, but you come on the road in this place in front of 80,000 is a heavy underdog today, and you've got your opportunity to push that ball down the field, give your guys a chance to pay it off. That aggressive mindset.
Squally Canada moves the pile across the 50 outside of Dakota Dixon. And we saw Dakota a moment ago wearing 14 in red. He is the only experience in the back end of that Wisconsin defense. Squally Canada, again, is limping off the field. But the 2 corners, completely inexperienced. And Scott Nelson alongside Dakota Dixon at free safety is a redshirt freshman. So when you watched this Wisconsin defense on tape, thought there might be some plays to be made for BYU against the second.
I don't think there's any question about it. So much inexperience there. Jim Leonard likes to do a lot of things defensively, and you're seeing it so far. Ball moving between the 20s.
Empty backfield on 3rd down. 4-man rush. Mangum wide open on the slant. Easy pitch and catch for the first down to Hifa. So we'll see if BYU can keep it rolling offensively without Squally Canada. He limped off on the initial drive, was able to come back on the field and score a touchdown. Now he really walked off the field with a pretty significant limp, trying to run it off again.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the pile. I talk about the Wisconsin piles on the other side. Look at the work and the effort by those BYU guys to get Wisconsin defenders on the ground. But I think that pile just rolled into the leg of Squally there. And you know his mom's yelling at him. Get back on that field. Do all you can for your teammates.
Patoa, true freshman. Good run on first down. A gain of 6. That's a backwards pass. It's a trick play. It is set up wide open into the end zone. Lu'ulu Patutau got by the defense. And the tight end scores off the pass from Hifa. You couldn't draw it up any better if you're BYU.
An aggressive, wonderful call there, and perfectly executed in time. And we could see it from the booth pretty easily, Bob. Harder to see on the field that this is thrown behind the line of scrimmage, but you know when it is. Boy, this double pass is wide open, and I talk about the inexperience in that secondary. Look at the eyes. They totally lost all eye discipline, and that's about as easy a throw and catch as you're going to get. Tremendous call. Jeff Grimes, OC BYU, has got it going here in the first half.
Oleva Hifo sold it, and Moronai Laulu Patutau, the champion of the pronunciation guide for BYU, gets behind the defense, and this is about as easy as it comes for BYU. They've got the lead. A trick play just run by BYU to give them the lead, 14-7. And Cruikshank will let this one go through the back of the end zone. Another. Jonathan Taylor alone in the backfield. He gets the call. Now, Brock, while we were away, you looked over at me and said, all right, 5:55 to go in the first half. You get a stop on downs, basically, by a missed field goal. 3 straight runs. Is there any other way to play this if you're Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think you've got to get back to who and what you are. And credit right there on first down. It makes it hard for the play caller when it's a 1-yard run. But, yeah, I think you've got to run the ball. And BYU right there, I mean, they just threw down David Edwards. You don't see that often, 79. I talk about Wisconsin's the one that's dishing out the damage usually. BYU here is flying around, winning at the line of scrimmage.
Hornibrook slants one. A.J. Taylor has a first down for Wisconsin. Hornibrook screen dropped by Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor last season, 299 carries, 1,977 yards in 16 career games. And last year he broke Adrian Peterson's freshman rushing record the whole year. He only had 8 receptions, and this year hasn't caught a ball yet. That's just not a part of his game.
It's the aspect that just has to continue to grow.
Groshek. It'll be 3rd down and a mile.
And guess who? Guess who's there to clean it up? Taki. He has been there all day. He's let his pads do the talking. And you get out that 1-yard run, just kind of set the tempo for the entire drive. And again, Taki looked at this game and really want to evaluate where his guys are at physically. Where and how do you measure up against this big bruising team, and the speed and the explosiveness right now? I don't think I would say that of BYU here defensively, especially at the second level of their group. It's the difference.
Getting loose is Danny Davis. Very interesting call coming here for Wisconsin. Is he short of the first down on 3rd and a mile? No. The officials say without measurement, he picked it up on 3rd and 19.
Wow.
Boy, that is a disappointing letdown for BYU defensively.
Yeah, they drop back to those sticks. You can see the depth there of BYU, and this is basically a quasi-screen pass. You're trying to time that up. You can hear the official. They're going to look at this spot and review it. But you're trying to time that up. Make sure you get the ball out before the blocking down the field. Well timed. And we'll have a measurement and a replay review when we come back.
Yeah, they're reviewing this spot. Big one. The result of the replay review while we were away, it is 4th and 1 for Wisconsin. And it was pretty clear. Danny Davis wasn't even close to the line to gain. They almost gave him a half-yard too much even after review as they put the ball just at the 38-yard line. Looked to be even short of the 38. They need to get to the 37 for a first down. So huge play after replay takes it back to 4th and 1.
Taki right in the middle of the action. You better get to him if you're going to move the chains.
Taylor up the middle. He's got the first down.
But not by much. The big nose tackle there, Tonga, right in the middle of the action. This O-line is not blowing BYU off the ball. And one of the advantages that Sataki and crew have defensively is they're going to play 7, 8 defensive linemen. They rotate their guys through on a hot day. And you're not seeing the mauling that you saw the first 2 weeks for Wisconsin up front. You're not seeing the country's best O-line right now dominating a group. You're seeing BYU holding that point pretty well.
Taylor dodges a tackler in the backfield. Stays on his feet. Terrific run from Jonathan Taylor. And it's time to answer the Aflac trivia question. After Taylor picked up a first down. In which stadium did Wisconsin clinch the 1993 Rose Bowl berth? At the Tokyo Dome.
And they used to do that back in the day. Used to play games over there. Been a long time.
Back in the day, I was in college.
You got that answer right, man. You were a college football star.
A jet sweep for Kendrick Pryor. He's inside the 15. All the way down inside the 5-yard line.
You can jet sweep. We can jet sweep. We can all jet sweep on this afternoon in Madison, Wisconsin. I think that's a testament to both teams, really commitment inside to stop that run game. You can see it just selling out there. Everybody wanting to count for the running back, and enough speed there by Pryor. Danny Davis can certainly do it. A.J. Taylor, that's been an element within Paul Chryst's scheme for years and years and years, and it's the one thing that Paul will not do. He will not panic over a course of a game. He will not get away from the run game, and he's got enough volume and arsenal in their run game to be successful.
6 offensive linemen for Wisconsin, and a handoff to Jonathan Taylor to the 2-yard line. BYU starts the third quarter with the football. They also have 3 timeouts. So you wonder if BYU may think about calling a timeout at some point here to save a little time for their offense. As effective as they've been, they might be able to score some points before halftime. But they're letting the clock wind down, and if you're Paul Chryst, why not take as much time off the clock as possible? Hand off to the fullback, Alec Ingold. Is he in? Yes! A Wisconsin touchdown. Second of the year for Ingold.
And there is just almost nothing you can do defensively. It's like a Tom Brady QB sneak, man. You got the numbers up there, but Alec Ingold just gets that running start. He gets his pads beneath Taki and Zane Anderson. They're right there. They're there to meet him, but one guy's got a 4-yard head start on it, understands leverage, is an old heavyweight wrestling champ, and gets those pads down and into the end zone for the tying score.
As a high school senior, Alec Ingold was 42-0 as a wrestler. Won the state title in the 220-pound division. And he wrestles his way into the end zone. Aguianone able to add the extra point, and that will take us to halftime. BYU an underdog by 3 touchdowns. Upset alert here in Madison. The State Farm halftime report coming up. Just about set for the start of the third quarter here in Madison, and an eyebrow-raising score. 3-touchdown underdog BYU. Now they're deadlocked at 14 here at Wisconsin. Bob Wischusen, Brock Ewart, Allison Williams will join us in just a moment. Last year we had the opener for BYU.
Yeah.
They got shoved around by LSU, didn't cross the 50-yard line on offense. Then when they played this Wisconsin team, they got drubbed. What's different? This is a different group than we saw last year.
It's a group that's got a lot of answers offensively. They've got a fly sweep right now with nearly 100 yards on the perimeter in their run game, and they came into this building. This was a statement for them. They wanted to evaluate where they are as a program, felt like they're stronger. And in that first 30 minutes of play, they outrushed the Badgers in this building by 36 yards. That does not happen very often.
BYU starts with the football here in the third. And a moment ago, Allison Williams caught up with Kalani Sitake.
Coach Sitake, you told us this was a measuring stick game for your team. How do you think you stacked up in that first half?
Good for one half. We got to play the next 30 minutes. Our guys are excited to finish us out, and so we'll see what happens now. But Wisconsin's a great team. They've won games in the second half, and we got to match their power and match their intensity.
What stood out to you in that first half that you thought were some positives for your team?
Our guys should feel confident. They got bigger and stronger in the offseason. Now we got to go finish the deal. 30 minutes left, and it's going to be a slugfest, and we're ready to get hit in the mouth. Let's go.
Kalani, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hit me with your best shot. They're not afraid of the physicality they knew they were going to see today here at Wisconsin. Play action for Tanner Mangum to start off the second half. Sidearms one to the sideline. Turning upfield is Dylan Collie. And And he's got 3 yards.
No turnovers in that first half, just 2 penalties. I mean, you go on the road in this conference, in this Big Ten, and you're going to face the Wisconsins, the Michigans, Ohio States. You have to play clean. You've got to win the field position battle when you get those opportunities. And you certainly can't give the ball away. And Tanner has not put the ball in harm's way at all in the first 30 minutes.
Colley. That time. Read by Wisconsin. The jet sweep doesn't work as we take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
Wisconsin got their yards. They're going to commit to that run game, and you're going to see it in the second half as well. But they were hard-earned. There were not many explosive plays, not many huge lanes. In fact, it was Squally Canada on the other side. Had the biggest run of that first half. And this trick play, perfectly executed by Kifo to throw it down the field. As this all squared 14.
3rd down and 7. Opening drive of the 3rd quarter. Wisconsin shows blitz. Here they come. Mangum out of the pocket. Keeps the play alive. Heaves one downfield. Broken up by Dakota Dixon.
And Jim Leonard was not going to mess around. And he's going to try to dictate a little bit. Brings the corner linebacker blitz off the edge. Mangum does a wonderful job running through the tackle of Connolly, the linebacker there, and give Dakota Dixon credit. There are not many safeties who are going to make up 10 yards of ground, but he does. Mangum let go of that ball. There was a good 10 yards of real estate that little Dakota Dixon had to do his very best to get underneath, and he does to knock it away and force the 3 and out.
Danny Davis back to receive the punt. And it is a good one from Red Almond. Davis buried inside the 25-yard line at the 23. Taylor popped again after a gain of 3. And I think we have now reached the deadline, or are drawing very close to it, where Le'Veon Bell's going to lose close to another $900,000 by not reporting.
And when he's 42 years of age, he's going to be thinking about that.
I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not. But when he's my age, I promise you, he will.
Taylor. 3 yards shy of a first down. Zane Anderson, who played free safety last year. Now he becomes an undersized linebacker. He makes the stop, and those position switches, philosophically changing the defense for BYU. They look like a different group on both sides of the ball this year.
And give that staff credit. I mean, give Tuiaki, the defensive coordinator, and Kalani the credit to say, you know, we're not going to just continue to be hard-headed about this. We want to do it for their careers. They have an eye to play in the NFL as well. Put them in the best position of success now and in their futures.
4-man rush. Hornibrook well protected. Long throw intercepted. It's picked off by Anderson. Zane Anderson jumps the route. And BYU in business inside the Wisconsin 30-yard line.
And there he is. You saw him on that sheet. He was a safety in his career here at BYU, and now he's going to be a linebacker. You know, he got beat early on an out route. Actually gets beat a little bit again, but a late throw there by Hornibrook, just a tick late. If you're going to throw that out route into the short side of the field, you have to throw it with anticipation. He did not. And you get the former safety, now turn linebacker credit. The guy's been all over the field. He and Taki have been the two biggest difference makers. The guys up front have given the opportunity to fly around, but he set his offense up with some tremendous field position.
Squally Canada down to the 21-yard line. Ryan Connolly made the stop after a gain of 6, and this Wisconsin defense has dealt with sudden change so far this season well.
Not a point. Not a point when the offense is giving it away, and that's now the 4th occasion this season. The Badgers have turned it over. A couple fumbles, second pick of the year for Hornibrook. And I think you've got to take a shot to the end zone here soon.
Mangum looking for the wheel route down the sideline, flips it that way, and it's incomplete. He wanted Dallin Holker.
Bob, with BYU threatening here, keep in mind Wisconsin is without outside linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. He's out with what is officially being called a right leg injury. However, he is on the sidelines in street clothes, and he has that right leg in a boot.
That's a significant loss. 6.5 sacks a year ago. To me, he's their best edge defender, but just getting to the quarterback and put more burden on an area in the linebacker group that's already got a couple other backers out today.
Big third down here after the interception. Can BYU capitalize? Mangum, quick hitter, out to the edge. Efo makes the catch, makes a spin. He's inside the 5. First and goal, BYU at the 4.5.
That's just soft coverage on 3rd and 5. That's not the coverage over the last few years with Wisconsin corners you're used to seeing. Look how conservative that is. That's 8 yards of cushion. Down here in the red zone, where you got that goal line as an extra defender. The sidelines, too. That's just pretty soft, pretty conservative. Tanner Mangum and Hefo taking advantage.
And Hornibrook hoping Jim Leonard's defense can get a stop as he threw his 23rd career interception to set up BYU. Squally Canada lowers the boom into the end zone. BYU, they've got the lead back. The second touchdown rushing this afternoon for Squally Canada. And Stacy Canada, mom, is having a blast watching her son put on a show. And way up there in the euchre seats, they like it too.
Again, goal, the fullback on the other side. This is all pad level. There's an unblocked. Dakota Dixon's unblocked right there. But Squally Canada knows it. He gets those pads down right near the goal line and plunges in for 6.
Brian Patrick Canada, better known as Squally, with 2 touchdowns. BYU's got the lead back. Bob Wischusen, Brock Ewert, Allison Williams back in Madison. The Extra Yard for Teachers Week has arrived. It's a week-long celebration of teachers led by the College Football Playoff Foundation through its Extra Yard for Teachers platform. Visit the College Football Playoff Foundation website at cfp-foundation.org to learn more about Extra Yard for Teachers Week and see how you can get involved. In a moment, we're going to let you know how Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator for BYU, will fondly remember his days as a grammar school teacher. Been educating kids his whole life, now as a coach, but earlier in life as a grammar school teacher. As Cruikshank on the kickoff return. It's popped at about the 24-yard line.
Lonnie Sitake knew coming in here this would be a 4-quarter brawl. And he wanted to see how his guys would hold up. Well, they're more than holding their own defensively.
Toss to Jonathan Taylor. And now pursuit with speed out on the edge as Taylor's brought down after a gain of 1.5 yards. Eric Groshek gets outside. Great balance. Stays in bounds. Groshek down the sideline. A big play to the 50.
That's one of the rare missed tackles there, Zane Anderson, and that's a little kind of misdirection right there from the former high school quarterback. The Dave Craig Award winner is the top quarterback in this state. He's added weight, former walk-on now on scholarship. And BYU took a breath. One of the rare occasions. Jonathan Taylor does not have a 20-plus yard run. Just one 15-yard run is his longest, and it's been a fly sweep prior earlier, and that time Groshek gets out.
Well, Garrett Groshek hasn't run the ball a ton, but he's helped this running game by helping Jonathan Taylor. JT told me that he actually talks to Groshek a ton. He said he used to be a quarterback, so he sees the field differently. He sees the defense. He dissects them and can read them. He said oftentimes when I come out of the game, I go over, I sit next to him, and I just pick his brain. So he's helping them right now, literally carrying the ball, but he's helped JT learn the game quite a bit as well.
You know what else? It's a great point. Groshek, a former quarterback. The entire linebacking core for Wisconsin, all former high school quarterbacks. What is it about this program, Brock, that wants to go recruit former quarterbacks?
Yeah, they just want, I think, athletes. And many times at the high school level, your best athlete is a quarterback. But then it's a bonus because of that broad understanding of the game.
Hornibrook out of the pocket. Flag down. Stayed behind the line of scrimmage so he could find Jake Ferguson. But we'll have to check the penalty marker, and BYU thinks they've drawn another hold.
And they have. And this one's, again, going to be on Kafusi.
Holding by number 79 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still second down.
Yeah, David Edwards has not had many of these days. A right tackle, a lot of folks projecting to the first round. And by the way, the biggest former quarterback on this roster. But these are two grown men right here. And Kafusi, 6'8", the inside rush. And once Hornibrook breaks the pocket, and you can talk to Russell Wilson's teammates and tackles about that. It's hard. It burdens you because you don't know where the quarterback is. That's something Hornibrook does not do a lot. But the hands outside the frame, once again, the giveaway.
2nd and 17 after the penalty. Timing route to the outside to Danny Davis. And that should take us to the end of the third quarter. So it will be a big third down for Wisconsin to open the fourth. They trail BYU by 7 here at home. In a place where, over the years, they've been basically unbeatable. 41 straight non-conference home games that BYU, or rather Wisconsin, has won. Before we start the fourth, we take a look at our Pacific Life game summary and how we have arrived at a touchdown lead, Brock, for BYU as we start the fourth quarter.
Yeah, just 8 possessions. Wisconsin has the ball here in their 8th possession. This is NFL football. Right, Oklahoma gets 8 possessions in the first quarter of some of their games over the course of the season, and this game gets shortened. Both teams are huddling up. The value of that ball, the one takeaway, really the difference here for BYU. 7-point lead in the fourth.
4-man rush. Hornibrook. He's got Ferguson once again. Harry Alvarez's grandson picks up 17. Normally they play jump around to get the crowd to have some fun before they leave at the end of the third quarter for blowouts. Well, look who was having fun a minute ago when they played the traditional jump around at the end of the third quarter here at Camp Randall.
And the Wisconsin guys on the other sideline just staring at him like this doesn't happen very much. We don't stare down 7-point deficits going in the fourth quarter, nor opponents that are usually this celebratory.
Taylor, blockers out in front. Inside the 20. Eventually dragged down by Chris Wilcox, but not before he picks up another Wisconsin first down.
That was a big-time block there by the center that pulls all the way out in front of this. Biadish back in the game, and he sizes it up. Look at that. You can't cut it down any better than that. That awareness of offensive linemen. A lot of veterans here. 147 combined starts and a ton of pride. And they've been pushed around for 3 quarters, and I think they're ready in the final 15 to try to do what they do best, and that's run the ball.
Again. Down to the 13-yard line. As you can see, he has already gone over 100 yards for the 3rd time this season. 6 more. Adam Pulsifer made the tackle, and there's Taki heading to the sideline.
Same play. Biadish once again coming out. There is a bit of a searching process, and sometimes it takes Paul Chris and his staff a little bit longer against quality opponents to find what can you get to in that run game. What can you get to in your playbook? It's back-to-back perimeter runs, pulling offensive linemen out in front of it. It's some movement, really, for the first time in the run game we've seen the second half.
Biadish last year at center was a freshman All-American, both guards. Ben Shaw and Dieter, first and second team All-Americans, respectively. And that's who they run behind again. Stiff arm inside the 5-yard line. Taylor. Another first down for Wisconsin. It is 1st and goal.
That's smart there. You want to leave the corners as the unblocked guys. Chris Wilcox is out there. He's the one left in space. Go get those linebackers. Taki coming off the field, been flying everywhere. Go get your hat on a linebacker and leave those secondary, those perimeter players to be the ones to try to tackle.
Jonathan Taylor needs a rest. He comes to the sideline to get a breather. It's Taiwan Deal, who came in short yardage back and the opening drive for Wisconsin and scored a touchdown. Lines up in a full house backfield. Play action. Or check that. Hornibrook fires to the back of the end zone. Incomplete through the hands of Ferguson.
It's a couple of those occasions here in the note-taking. Hornibrook's going to have to say, I just got to get better with a little bit of movement. I got to get better and be more accurate. He has it. Ferguson's a big guy with a huge catching radius, but that one's even too tall for him.
6 offensive linemen on the field for Wisconsin, and the tight end Ferguson out there as well. This time they give it to Deal. He's into the end zone for a touchdown. His second of the day. Leononi Brock ties the game at 21.
Honoring those who serve is exactly what Wisconsin strength and conditioning coach Sean C. and his staff wanted to do when they brought in members of the Wounded Warrior Project. They had them here working out on campus in the team's facility. Several of the players were involved. They also treated them to lunch and a tour of the stadium. And Snee said, while we wanted to do something to give back to our soldiers, we were the ones who really got a lot out of this event. Guys, they had 22 participate this year. The second year, they hope to grow it in the following years.
I just love that. I just love that so much. And I know I've said this, feels like a lot more over the course of the start of this college football season, Bob. It's just what makes the college game so great, the opportunity you have to connect.
And guys, Snee is the strength and conditioning coach. He's also a nutrition consultant, and he worked with a performance nutrition program to use locally sourced produce and companies to develop a couple of custom recovery drinks for his players. One of them is called Red Way. It's tart cherry juice. You got it there, Bobby. Brock, you have the Switchel. It's apple cider vinegar, tart cherry, ginger. It's late in the fourth. You might be cramping up. Give it a try, guys. Come on, Bobby. It's good for you.
Oh, man.
Anti-inflammatory.
I'm not inflamed. I don't have to recover from anything.
I love this vinegar.
Oh, God, this smells terrible. Squally Canada. He's in the open field. Off to the races goes Canada. They were all set to come back on camera to us with this putrid smelling stuff. And Squally Canada bails us out because we have to show a replay, thankfully, of why he was able to spring for 46 yards.
Well, he's got a little juice in his legs here in the fourth quarter. That's awesome, man. That, once again, is the right side of that BYU offensive line. That's Hodge, that's Hoyt. That's two grown men on that side that just collapse their double team. And Canada's savvy. He's got a willingness in the field to cut that thing back. Big time play.
As Mangum is under center. Little late break in the huddle, BYU. Mangum back to throw. Fires one up the seam, and it's complete. Boy, right on the chest pad of Gunnar Romney. And that makes this a much more manageable second down after it was 1st and 20.
That's beautifully done. That's zone coverage. That's a little curl route by the true freshman. And the most important thing when you run that route is you just got to take that step back to the quarterback. If he stops his route on the top of his break, there is no chance that ball is knocked down. But the savvy freshman, realizing and understanding, just come back to the ball. And an excellent dart there for Mangum.
Now well within field goal range to potentially retake the lead. Mangum flips one. It is caught. Lualu Patutau is able to pick up maybe a half yard.
Pretty sharp on third down, and you cannot afford to take a sack here. You see the call sheet out, more than likely some motion shifts, a longer call, a pass play whenever that thing comes out on the wristband, but you have got to get rid of the football.
Here comes the Wisconsin blitz. Mangum heaves one to the sideline, and it's incomplete. He threw it up over the head of Gunnar Romney and did well to avoid, Brock, the sack that you said he absolutely couldn't afford to take there, and that preserves some real estate for the field goal try.
Yeah, and Jim Leonard was going to bring that. You know, he's trying to knock them out of it, and well, Mangum didn't see that off the snap. The sidelines did. They were screaming corner blitz. He does the right thing and at least avoids the negative play.
Well, Jim Leonard, of course, was raised as a player with Mike Pettin, now the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and, of course, Rex Ryan. And they love all that third down exotic stuff. And the field goal is good. BYU's got the lead.
Take a drink.
I've been told
With
I have
shoes
to
and drink up, dude. It's fourth quarter time.
You can see how intense this game has been. That student section has been on their feet all day for Wisconsin. And right after the Badgers were able to get down the field and tie the game, a big field goal drive for BYU, Brock. Getting some points out of that possession just feels like exactly what had to happen for BYU. The momentum has certainly shifted.
There's no question. In Squally Canada, over 100-yard day in this building. That does not happen very often.
Aaron Cruikshank will bring it out, and the freshman pays the price. Jonathan Taylor had a lot more success running the right side the last drive. This time they try to go back to the left, and who's there but Corbin Kafusi.
Yeah, he's had a well of a game. He's had probably the best game that I have seen on tape over the last couple of years for Corbin. And this is a matchup that's built for him. You just got to maul people at the line of scrimmage. You got to use some of that length. There's not been very much perimeter run. That jet sweep successful early for Wisconsin. They've not come back to it very much. And Kafusi's been setting that edge.
Hornibrook, long throw to the sideline, finds Kendrick Pryor. That's good for a first down. He picked up 11.
And there's those opportunities. I think both of these sets of corners on both teams are going to try to keep everything in front. They do not want to be the group that's up there and press man and gets beat over the top. A lot of youth out on the edges. Should be opportunity for Mangum and Hornibrook in the final 9 minutes to play out on the perimeter.
Brochek. 4 yards, maybe 5, out to the 39. Adam Pulsifer brought him down. Third down coming for Wisconsin at their own 41-yard line. Bracken El-Bakri brought down Brochek.
You know what? You would have probably liked El-Bakri's drink better than what you just drank. 2 a.m. every morning he had to put on 50 pounds. Right, 2 a.m. every morning he drank 2,000-calorie protein drink.
That's my kind of guy.
2 a.m. every morning he had to set that alarm to drink those 2,000 calories to put on 40, 50 pounds and be one of these difference makers that we have seen here for BYU on that D-line.
Can those difference makers get a stop on 3rd down and 3? Hornibrook under pressure. The pocket collapses. And there's the sack. Zach Dahl comes through and brings down Hornibrook.
And those offensive linemen, they can't tug and get the hands outside the shoulder pads or it's a holding call. But D linemen certainly can use those hands. And Zach Dahl does just that. To Michael Dieter there, the left guard. He uses his hands. He pulls him tight and he throws Dieter away. And for a group that has not impacted the quarterback very much this season, just 1 sack and QB hurry coming into this afternoon, they've been the difference makers.
Shelton calls for a fair catch. It will be BYU ball with a 3-point lead when we return here in the 4th. We return with a look at this week's college football rankings brought to you by Allstate. And Clemson, Georgia, Stanford, they all played basically guarantee games. So those are drubbings. But all the other teams in the top 10, and there is Brock Ewart's game of interest later on tonight. If teams are playing legitimate opponents today, Brock, these games are good.
Yeah, and stay up tonight. You know, the East Coast, stay up late because that is going to be a wonderfully highly contested game as well.
Squally Canada. Out to about the 32-yard line. When he was a little boy, Squally would as a baby at the home that he grew up in. Look at a squaw tree that would go back and forth outside his window in the breeze. And his father named him Boo Squally. Well, the Squally part stuck. So that goes all the way back to when he was an infant. And that tree swaying in the breeze held his attention. Alone in the backfield is Canada. 2nd down and 1. Bouncing off blockers and tacklers. Just enough for a couple of yards and a 1st down. And we're probably one more 1st down away for BYU from Wisconsin having to start thinking about using their timeouts.
Yeah, and these are just the moments that this guy is living for right now. A lot of talk about where he's at, year number 3, some of the pressure that's mounting after a really disappointing year last year, and him really trying to change the mindset to get bigger, to get stronger, to come in and play with the Wisconsin, not just play with them, but to beat them. What that would do to the culture of this program is they're trying to take that step to be more physical. Huge.
Mangum off play action. Under pressure outside the pocket, and he'll heave one out of bounds. That does Wisconsin a favor as that stops the clock with 4:54 to go and sets up 2nd down and 10.
That's an amazing run right there.
Well, basically since World War II, the modern era of football, that's the 5th longest home win streak against non-conference competition. Designed quarterback run for Tanner Mangum. 3 yards. And now we bring up 3rd down and 7 as Wisconsin has a chance to get a stop and get the ball back to their offense. Coming up on 4.5 to go.
And this is where 80,000 in the stadium have to make a difference. I mean, you have to be that 12th extra defender and create some noise with all the motions and shifts that BYU is going to use.
Four-man rush. Mangum throws it away. That stops the clock again with 4:04 to go and forces a punt.
Yeah, and really nowhere to go here, and I'll give a lot of credit to Dakota Dixon. This is just a little out route here that Mangum's looking to, and as you can see, when he goes to throw, there's really nobody. He's not going to make that long throw across the field. It was going to either be slant routes or out routes, and right here, Dakota Dixon's in a one-on-one, man. You've got a lot of ground to cover. He does his job with the collision, gets his hands off, forces Mangum to throw it away on the huge 3rd down.
Rhett Almond gets away a wobbly kick. Jack Dunn's going to let it bounce. And this takes the perfect BYU hop out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. 3:55 to go in the 4th here at Camp Randall. It's been a terrific game. Exactly the kind of game you would expect. 2 teams that huddle up and play NFL-style football. Limited possessions. Every snap has mattered. Under 4 minutes to go. Number 6 at home in danger with their worst starting field position of the day. Hornibrook from the goal line. Looks to check one down to Taylor. Has to leap to make the catch. And has no leverage when he lands, so gets driven back after a gain of 1.
Very different sideline feels down here, guys, for Wisconsin. It's getting a little tense over there. BYU, though, they are loud and they are loose, especially when the defense was over on the sideline, guys. Everybody was talking. Everybody was yelling. Everybody else was kind of bouncing around. This group is really energized.
Hornibrook after the injury timeout. Another throw underneath to Jonathan Taylor. In space, Taylor close to a 1st down. It looks like he's got it by a half yard. No huddle for the Badgers. Hornibrook underneath again. This time it's Groshek. To the 24-yard line. 5 yards on first down.
It's pretty sound defensively here from BYU. You've got 7 defenders that are just dropping underneath these out routes and corner routes, and this is about the only outlet. 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. They're going to try to keep as best they can. As you see Gaglione over there, everything in front of them.
Hornibrook wants a chunk here, and he's got it with A.J. Taylor. Well, unlike BYU, that's got a true freshman kicker, Paul Christ has a 5th-year senior in Gaglione over on the sideline that he knows he can depend upon.
Keeps in his pocket.
Hornibrook finds Groshek. First down and more to the 45-yard line of BYU. Now, the rule is if Wisconsin substitutes, then the official is supposed to stand over the ball with arms outstretched. That was the motion you saw Coach Satake making, and he felt like his team was supposed to be able to substitute. Groshek for 3 yards. And now a timeout will be called by Wisconsin with 1:35 to go. Rafael Gaglianone's career long is 52. They're comfortable with him from just inside of 50. That's why they want to get to at least the 30-yard line. Of course, Hornibrook's thinking touchdown. That might win it. Here he's thinking avoid the sack. He gets loose. Gets away from Taki. Hornibrook down to the 26. 16-yard scramble.
That's not what he does best, but it is something he's tried to work on and add to his game this season. And that opportunity is there as deep as BYU is dropping if you can get past that front 4. 16 huge yards.
Taiwan Deal. 2 yards to the 24-yard line, down to 1:10 to go. Hornibrook out of the pocket again. Stays behind the line. Heaves one towards the back of the end zone. And it's incomplete. No chance for A.J. Taylor. And that stops the clock with 45 seconds to go and sets up what might be the play of the game. 3rd down and 8.
A little bit like the other side earlier in this quarter on the field goal. 3rd down, BYU has been very content, Taki and crew, to not pressure. To just rush 4 here. And if you're Hornibrook, like I said about Mangum, you just can't go backwards. You cannot take a sack from this point forward.
Hornibrook up the seam, incomplete. Crowd wanted a flag. Nothing comes out. Taylor, the intended receiver. So it will be up to the 5th-year senior, Rafael Gaglianone, to try and tie the game with 41 seconds to go. And even if he does, BYU still has 3 timeouts. They'll probably have about 35 seconds or so on the clock. So a lot could still happen here in the last 41. 42 yards for the tie. The play gets off. It's heading left. No good. The 5th-year senior, Rafael Gaglianone, a Groza watch list kicker. Can't connect from 42 yards out. And maybe those timeouts paid the exact dividends that Kalani Sitake thought they might if he called all of the timeouts and let Gaglianone think about it.
Perfect snap, perfect hold. The senior that has been so good over his career. You saw him pat his chest and say, my bad in the biggest moment. And look at Sitake. He has felt the weight. There is no question. The pride that the program has in their history, in their tradition at BYU. He has heard some of that outside noise of where are you in your program. An opening week win against Arizona created a whole lot of conversation and hope. You fall down in the fourth quarter a week ago against Cal at home. And now you come into this building, you beat number 6, biggest win in his tenure. And it was measuring stick. How tough are we? How big and strong are we? How fun was it talking about that fight with him tonight? That guy loves to talk fights. SID says, oh no, you guys start doing this, we're never going to get out of this room. But he loves brawls. He loves fights. Former fullback loved collisions. And he loved this 60 minutes of football. This is who they want to be. They want to be Wisconsin one day. They want to be big, strong, physical. They want to be able to throw haymakers with anybody in the country and to come into Madison against this squad, against this offensive line, and to get it done. I'd say they passed this test.
Brock, calling their opener last year when they couldn't get across the 50-yard line against LSU, and then watching the tape of their game against Wisconsin last year, could you have imagined 12 months later you'd see a BYU team that could go out and physically match up for 60 full minutes with that offensive line, and a Wisconsin team? I never thought he would be able to get this program physically to this place in 1 year.
He wanted to change the belief. He thinks belief then moves into behavior, and ultimately the execution is what culture is all about. He went a long way to building so much belief within this program for these players this season, I think for years to come.
Allison?
Thank you, Bob. Here with Coach Sataki. Coach, first of all, take me into the decision to use the 2 timeouts to ice their kicker instead of saving them for when your offense came back on the field.
Just theatrics. I wanted to use them, get our defense, get the rest, and make them think I was going to take the last one. And I don't know if that was the key. Our guys worked hard, and, you know, I believe in our guys, and I'm just proud of how hard they fought in this game.
Tell me about that fight, because you said that this was the game you would use to judge how far your team has come. How would you describe, after the way they played, the fight and the physicality that they have shown?
Physical. This is the most physical team in the country, Wisconsin. And so if we wanted to see what we're made of. Last year we weren't good enough. This year it worked out in our favor in their house, and some things went our way, but I'm glad our guys played hard and played tough, and you know, the score shows that they got what they deserved. This started all the way back in January when they worked hard in the weight room, hard in training, and we kept reminding them of all those hard work, and it paid off.
What does this win mean to you, to lead these guys into Camp Randall and pull off this win?
Oh, I'm happy for our fans. I'm happy for our players. Our coaches worked extremely hard. For me as a coach, I've been a fan my whole life. So I love the fact that I love watching. I had the best seat in the house, and it was a lot of fun. But I'm proud of the players. Happy that our fans are here. They support us everywhere we go, and really excited to go celebrate with the team.
You do that, Kalani. Thank you.
Guys. Go Cougs. Thanks, guys.
No team as a non-conference opponent had come to Camp Randall and won since 2003 until today. BYU wins it by 3 at Wisconsin. For Allison Williams and Brock Ewart, I'm Bob Wischusen. So long from Madison. We're heading back to the studio.